They thought he was broken, a washed-up soldier, haunted by guilt. Just one man, alone. But when 25 alien soldiers raided his outpost, slaughtered his comrades, and laughed at the idea of him fighting back, they had no idea of the hell he was about to unleash. If you've ever wanted to see justice served cold, when the underdog rises up and delivers payback no one saw coming, then smash that like button, hit subscribe, and get ready. Because this isn't just a survival story. It's one of the most satisfying revenge tales you'll ever hear. Corporal Shaolin's boots pounded against the dirt track. He wasn't running from anyone. Not today. He was running because it was the only thing that kept him sane. Every step echoed with ghosts. Private Lee, his wide-eyed smile. Private Gonzalez, cracking stupid jokes that made everyone groan but secretly laugh. Private Tarn, always fussing with his mustache like it was his life's mission. And Sergeant Peck, his closest friend. The man who had dragged him through fire more than once. All gone, blown apart in a flash of light when their vehicle hit a mine. Shaolin had lived, and in his heart, that felt like the worst curse of all. He couldn't stop replaying it. If I'd been sharper, if I'd seen the signs, they'd still be here. But the truth was, those new alien mines were nearly invisible. Even experts struggled to detect them. Didn't matter. His mind didn't care about truth. It only whispered one thing. It's your fault. You should have died with them. The guilt broke him. He was pulled off the front lines, sent to doctors, counselors, specialists. 6 months of therapy, trying to patch up a shattered soul. And when they finally cleared him, they didn't trust him in combat. Not yet. So they shipped him off to light duty. A listening post on the 4th moon of Tango 3. At first, he thought it was a punishment. An empty rock in the middle of nowhere, manned by 2 bored Navy techs. Their job? Monitor signals. Push buttons. Drink bad coffee. But Shaolin didn't complain. He wasn't sure he deserved more. Besides, the moon wasn't as harmless as it looked. The atmosphere was breathable, sure. The gravity close to Earth's. But the wildlife? Imagine Australia, already one of the deadliest places on Earth. Then crank it up on steroids. Tiny insects with venom that could leave you writhing for hours. Plant life that looked like paradise until it decided you were lunch. And the worst of all, the butterfly wasps. Beautiful, shimmering wings. But their sting? Instant death. Yeah, Shaolin quickly learned to respect the terrain. He jogged the same trail every morning, mapping every route, every bend. Routine was his anchor. Until the day routine shattered. It started like any other run, but halfway through, something prickled at the back of his neck. A soldier's instinct. That 6th sense you don't question, because it saved your life too many times. He froze. The forest was quiet. Too quiet. His hand slid to the rifle slung across his back. That's when he saw it. Smoke, thin, rising in the distance. The base. His heart slammed against his ribs. He sprinted back, boots hammering the dirt. But when the outpost came into view, his blood ran cold. The techs were dead. Their bodies sprawled across the ground. And moving among the wreckage, hulking reptilian forms. Rookin, 25 of them, 8 feet tall, scales like armor, teeth designed to tear through flesh. Each one carried weapons that could shred a human in seconds. They hadn't just stumbled here. This was a raid. They wanted the listening post, its comms gear, its data. Shaolin ducked into cover, breath ragged. 1 against 25. He should run. Report back. Survive. But as he stared at the corpses of the techs, at the smoldering ruins of his post, a familiar fire burned in his chest. He remembered Lee, Gonzalez, Tarn, Sergeant Peck. All gone. Not this time. This time, the enemy would pay. Shaolin knew brute force was suicide, but he also knew something the Rookin didn't. This moon wasn't just dangerous. It was a weapon, and he was going to use it. He melted into the jungle, mind racing. Every lesson drilled into him during recon training sparked back to life. Step 1. Isolate. Divide and conquer. Step 2. Use the terrain. Turn nature itself into his ally. Step 3. Make them fear what they can't see. He wasn't just going to fight them. He was going to hunt them. And one by one they would fall. He moved like a shadow. Not because he wanted to be invisible, because every sound, every bruise of breath, could mean death on this moon. The jungle closed around him like a living wall, leaves rasping, unseen things shifting, the thin copper scent of alien pollen hanging in the air. He breathed it in and let the memories do their work. Lee's laugh, Gonzalez's awful joke about a space coffee machine, Tarn's arrogant tug at that ridiculous mustache, Peek's steady presence. He let all of it burn hot inside him until it became purpose. First, communication. If the Rookin could call for backup, this would become a slaughter. If they uploaded the listening post data, whatever advantage the Navy had here would be gone. He had to cut the link. He didn't hesitate. He sprinted for the transmitter tower a kilometer away, zigzagging through thickets, keeping low. The tower looked like a needle against the pale sky. Two reptilian figures walked around its base, casual, confident. He waited. Timing was everything. He hit them fast. 2 silent strikes. 1 knife to the jaw. A throat slit that tasted metallic in his mouth. He dragged the bodies out of view. Checks quick and clinical, fingers fumbling for anything useful. A grenade. Some cord. A stubby knife. No rifle. Too bulky, too loud to move with. He could live with a pistol and a blade. He loved what the jungle gave him. A place that punished invaders more than locals. The tower fell. He worked with a feral efficiency. He smashed transmitters, severed cables, tore wiring with his hands until the tower was a dead tooth in the landscape. Before he left, he tapped out a short string of Morse into the old emergency beacon, a coded shout that someone might pick up, a tiny hope, a tiny arrow pointed at rescue. He felt ridiculous for hoping. He hoped anyway. Next came the bait. Shaolin had learned to read this planet like a map of threats and opportunities. He knew what the Jukuri, 4-armed, monkey-like scavengers, liked. He knew the wasp's habits, the ginkgo's reach, the sand burrower's preference for light patches of earth. He turned everything into ammunition. He harvested berries, small, glistening, citrus dark, that smelled like heaven if you were a Jukuri and like rot if you were anything else. He mashed them into a sticky paste with dirt until the smell was thick and animal magnetic. He wrapped the paste in leaves and rolled pebbles inside, making pellets that burst into odor when struck. He fashioned a crude slingshot from a Y-shaped branch and strung a leaf pouch between its arms. Then he became a puppeteer. From the perimeter, he launched a handful of paste bombs into the compound. Leaves burst on impact. The smell unfurled. He mimicked a Jukuri call, a desperate, high theatrical sound that cracked the air. It wasn't long before the trees answered. Dozens of Jukuri dropped like a storm into the compound, screeching, scrapping, tearing at hands and armor for the paste. They were chaotic, glorious, a living grenade that shredded discipline. Pandemonium followed. Rookin guns barked. Some Rookin panicked, trying to swat and shoot, but the Jukuri weren't afraid. They fought like animals with nothing left to lose. A few Rookin with helmets off became easy meat. The Jukuri tore and gnawed where armor exposed flesh. The compound erupted into noise. Alarms, growls, shrieks, the metallic clang of falling gear. Perfect distraction. Shao slipped through the teeth of the chaos and found the shuttle, the metal burr that had carried all 25. A lone pilot kept watch, eyes darting. He moved like someone who'd rather be anywhere else. Shao didn't give him the chance. The blade slid in a hairline instant. Quiet, efficient. He dragged the body into the shuttle and smashed the cockpit controls until sparks sprayed. He smashed database cores until they looked like steaming guts. Then he smeared the last of the paste all over the shuttle interior, a stinking, irresistible invitation. Back in the trees, he watched the Jukuri swarm the shuttle ramp. They clawed at consoles, bit at wiring, tore open panels. The craft convulsed. Fire licked at insulation. He felt a small, savage satisfaction. He'd only disabled the shuttle. The Rookin could rebuild it, but they couldn't rebuild what it meant. Time lost, plan interrupted, morale smashed. For now, the shuttle would be useless. And they retreated into the comms center where they could organize and seal doors. 25. No more. Less than before. He built the traps next. Crude, brilliant in their simplicity. He dug pits and covered them with brush. He stretched tripwire of synthetic cord across likely paths. He set spring pole traps with knives lashed to a bent branch. He cleaned and set each like a craftsman. Not lethal in every case, but painful enough to break rhythm, to make them think twice. He spread false trails through the jungle. Tracks, broken twigs, the telltale signs of a fleeing man. He lit a small raft fire on the opposite side of the base to create a scent of movement and a visible column of smoke. He wanted them to split. He wanted them to search. They did exactly what human troops never should. They fanned out. Pairs. Small groups. Confident steps that would become mistakes. Xiao waited. He watched as a two-man team padded toward the tower. Timing. He slipped out, silent as a thought. The first fell without sound. The second turned, startled, reaching, and the blade slid across his throat. No shout, no call, just the soft thud of a body collapsing. He stripped the bodies for the single precious items they carried. Grenades, knives, cord. Sometimes even an empty holster had value. He checked the tower for ways they could fix his sabotage. Nothing. He moved on. Elsewhere, his other traps did their work. A rookin stepped into a pit and snapped his lower leg on a hidden stake. He screamed, a sound like a boiling kettle, and the pain drew others closer until one stumbled into a tripwire and snapped ankles like twigs. The wasp horde found a careless patrol. Their thick hide protected them from a dozen stings, but not from hundreds. Venom found gaps. Legs wobbled. Eyes rolled. They fell. Xiao kept distance. He didn't linger to watch the gore. He watched from trees, from rocks, listening to the chorus of suffering like a conductor. Hate cooled into focus. Every body counted toward the end, he imagined. Their leader alone, their calms down, his base safe, his friends avenged. At one point, it almost went wrong. He climbed a ridge and froze, seeing a nest on a ledge. Monstrous hatchlings with two heads, necks like doors. He held his breath. When the rookin walked onto the cliff to investigate, the gigantic shadow dropped. A rock, wings like sails, screamed a note so high it felt like a friend's bones. Weapons spat uselessly. The rock tore one rookin into halves. The other was flung clear into trees. The predator's roar rolled across the valley. Xiao exhaled a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. Nature did the work of death sometimes. He didn't complain. He worked methodically, broke up patrols, isolated pairs, baited them in mud pits where the sucking sand took them chest deep before he let them see him walk away, fed their bravado into the clutches of the Ginkgo until tendrils finished what his weapons had begun. He used smoke to draw 6 men into a false trail he'd sown, and a fire he'd kept small and clever pushed another 6 toward the marsh. One by one, the rookie numbers dropped. Patterns emerged. They were eager, overconfident, arrogant in a way that made them predictable. They believed in their armor and their numbers. They didn't believe in the small, clever danger. He killed in the ways he had to. Close, quiet, brutal. He took knives clean, cleared grenades, and set them for later. He never lost sight of the bigger game. Don't be the one who dies for a body. He moved like a surgeon, taking only what the operation required. After hours long, humming hours, he narrowed them down. 3 left, leader and 2 others. 2 holed up in the compound. 1 patrolling. He could be visceral. He could be theatrical. Or he could end it clean. He chose clean, but he chose bold. He waited till the sun sank low. Twilights here on the moon were sudden. The light fell like a curtain. He slipped through the gate hidden behind a storehouse, heart beating in a rhythm he recognized now as the drum of fight or dream. He ate, drank, rechecked his ammo. He could have gone in wearing full armor and slapped grenades on the fence and gone for a last stand. He didn't. He learned the hard way that armor didn't solve planning. He stalked the last sentry for 3 slow circuits of the perimeter. The guard made his lazy rounds, steps easy, hearing dulled by the day's success. Timing. He leapt with a suddenness that made the sentinel's head snap back. A knife found a soft gap. The body sagged. Xiao dragged it into shadow, swallowed by the compound's dark corridors. Inside the shuttle, the co-pilot was cursing under his breath as he tried to jury-rig the comms. Xiao killed him too, silent, methodical, then set a grenade at the hatch. He double-checked lines. He found pockets of damaged equipment and smeared the paste across anything that would attract scavengers. He ran for crates and dove behind cover. The grenade went off with a sound like a small sun. The shuttle's cockpit window exploded outward in a curtain of glass and fire. The co-pilot's body combusted. Flames licked through cables. The comms died a slow, burning death. The comms shack door slammed open. The leader ran out, eyes wild. Shao fired 3 rounds. 2 hit in the flank. The leader staggered, tried to reach for a blade. Shao closed the distance on animal reflex. 1 kick. 2. The leader hit the dirt. A final shot in the head. Clean, merciful to him, terrible to watch. And it was over. He scanned the compound with hands that trembled from exhaustion more than fear. He checked corners. Comms room empty. Shuttle a ruin. The bodies of the Rookin lay in mangled, stiff shapes. He counted on fingers made numb by adrenaline. 9. 9 he had killed that day. 9 less hell to pay the rest of the sector. He should have felt triumph. He should have felt vindication. Instead, he felt a weight like a hand on his chest. A release that wasn't relief, because relief would mean the ghosts were gone. They weren't. They'd never be. But the tightness in his gut loosened a fraction. He found a patch of shadow by a wall and let himself collapse. The world shifted under him. His eyelids closed like shutters. When he woke, the sky was light. There was a sound, a present tense roar that sounded like salvation and like doom. Thrusters. A shuttle descending. His heartbeat matched it. He checked his pistol, reloaded slowly with hands that trembled, and crawled to the door. Only one way to know. He pushed the door aside and stepped out into a burning new day. Shaolin squinted into the sky. The shuttle descended slow, deliberate, its engines howling against the still air. Dust kicked up in violent spirals, coating his sweat-smeared skin. His hand tightened on the pistol. He had just enough strength left for one more fight. If it was Rookin reinforcements, he'd die standing. He'd take as many with him as the ammo allowed. The ramp hissed. The hatch cracked open. And then, human voices. Clear. Familiar. Corporal Lin, hold your fire. We've got you. He sagged against the wall, pistol lowering. For the first time in what felt like centuries, the knot in his chest began to loosen. Not gone. It would never be gone. But looser. Figures in Navy armor poured out, weapons up, scanning the jungle. Their medics sprinted forward, shouting something Shaolin couldn't hear over the rush of blood in his ears. His knees buckled. He didn't fight it. He let them catch him, lower him gently. Someone pressed a water pouch to his lips. Someone else was patching his arm, checking his vitals. But none of that mattered. All that mattered was the look in their eyes. Respect. Not pity. Not fear. Not dismissal. Respect. Because this wasn't just survival. This wasn't just a man hiding in the jungle until rescue came. This was payback. One human, one broken soldier, against 25 monsters. And he'd won. Revenge doesn't always bring peace. It doesn't erase the ghosts. Shaolin would always carry the memory of his fallen brothers. Their laughter, their flaws, their final screams. But on that moon, surrounded by a hostile jungle and a swarm of enemies, he found something else. Purpose. They thought one man couldn't matter. They thought his guilt made him weak. They thought he'd roll over and die quietly. Instead, he turned their arrogance against them. He used their numbers, their impatience, their blindness to the land. And one by one, he made them pay. Not out of hate, but out of love. For his squad. For justice. For the memory of the people who gave everything. And sometimes, that's enough. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button right now. And tell me in the comments, what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen, either in real life or in stories like this? I love reading those. And who knows, maybe your comment will inspire the next video. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. We bring you the best tales of justice, karma, and ultimate payback every single week. This has been your story time. Thanks for listening. And remember, even one person, when underestimated, can change everything.